Want to beat inflation? Do what Reagan did. That's all you got to do. Do what Reagan did. So we're going to look at this from Powerline Blog, the boys at Powerline Blog. And we're going to see right here, the real price of crude oil per barrel, West Texas Intermediate. And you can see about 65 or so in 1975, 80 in 1977, and then it went all the way up to about 155 by the time Reagan won office. Price controls of petroleum products dating back to Nixon were removed right there. Reagan's first day of office, he removed the price controls on oil. His first day of office. And I can show you how this has to do with inflation. What were the libs on the left saying? Howard Metzenbaum, you remember him from Ohio, he took the Senate floor the next day to predict that we will see $1.50 gas this spring, so maybe before. It's just a matter of time until the oil companies and their associates and the OPEC nations will be driving the gasoline pumps to $2 a gallon. This is in 1981. A clown from Michigan said it'll hurt our people within a matter of days. Bumpers from Arkansas had previously predicted that without rationing, gasoline will soon go to $3 a gallon. Decontrol is designed to see how much we can squeeze out of the American people before they take to the streets. Maine's George Mitchell, who took George H.W. Bush to the cleaners with his raising of taxes, the Republican Party is so stupid. He said, I believe that decontrol as a cure will prove to be worse than the disease of oil addiction. A Ralph Naderite advocacy group predicts that oil prices will go to as high as $870 a barrel under assumptions which many experts believe are realistic. But what happened? Oil prices started falling almost immediately from an average high of $1.41 in February 1981. Gas prices fell from a high of $1.41 in February. Pump prices fell steadily to 89 cents by the 1986. Oil imports from OPEC fell by 2 million barrels a day by the end of 1982. Reagan's integrated view of oil prices, inflation, and the value of the dollar is especially remarkable in comparison with the Carter administration. The Carter administration was better than Nixon. I don't know why they always give a free run to Nixon and they don't to the Carter administration. I mean, they bash the Carter because Carter is the whole point. Started deregulating with Ted Kennedy, by the way. So I want to show some here. Here's the spot price of crude oil, West Texas Intermediate, and you can see. Actually, I'm going to go to my spreadsheet I did. Well, you can see this chart. Look at this. Oh, my goodness. Look at that jump, Josh. That's horrible. Oh, my goodness. It is bad. I'm not going to lie to you. From 2020 to 2022, this is a spot price went from $39, I guess, a barrel, one barrel, to $94. Basically, let's say a triple, not quite a tripling, 2.5 times over the course of a year, right? And then it fell again here. So you can say, oh, well, look at that. It was so flat back then. It's so flat. And we're going to show you something there. Let's do like this, as I always like to do. We're going to log this. Let me show you. Oh, doesn't look that bad when you log it, does it? In fact, you can see right here from 1970, it's probably 1974, it was at, and this is not, and this is in actual dollars, it's not adjusted. 1974 is probably about $3.50, all right, per barrel. To right there, about $30 per barrel. Look at that, from 1974 to 1980. Almost like it wasn't the spending that the government was doing that caused inflation. It was actually the price of oil. And then even though the government was spending like drunken sailors this whole time, inflation was going down. So the government was spending this whole time. Let me show you the debt here. All right, the debt increase. Let me just show you here real quick. We're going to edit this. I'm going to come back and do another video on this because I think it's important. Yeah, right here. So here's the debt right here on the household federal debt right there in the blue. So the debt was going. It's on the left hand side. You can see the debt right there. $492 trillion. And let's go to 19Q1. Actually, let's make this whole hang tight for just a second. There's a debt. Actually, let me do something. It's a federal debt, the government debt in 1974, right there, $480 billion. All right, and by 1980, it doubled. So it grew from $480 billion to $900 billion in 6 years. All right, so the debt was growing through the roof. All right, Pablo, clear that you understand the federal debt doubled in 6 years from 1974 to 1980. On top of that, the price of crude was going from 1974 right there, basically. About, we'll just say $3 a barrel, all right, the price to right there, and this is in that day's dollars, not adjusted for inflation, to 40. All right, so the federal government debt was going through the roof. The price of crude was going through the roof. So let's take a look at what happened to the federal government debt under Reagan. The federal government debt went from 900 from 1980. We'll just, yeah, 1980 to what? 1988. In his 8 years' time, it went from 900 billion to 2.5 trillion. That's a 2.5 times over 8 years. Just everybody with me on that. So it doubled, it more than doubled. It went 250% increase in Reagan's 8 years. 1974 to 1980, it doubled. All right. In Reagan's years, it did twice that. It went 250%. But yet, under Reagan, inflation wasn't anything at all relative to what it was in the 70s. Why is that? Why is that? Well, because you can see it right here, man. The price of oil was going down because Reagan deliberated the price controls that Nixon put in like a friggin' idiot. It has nothing to do with the printing press. It has to do with our natural resources. I don't understand why people don't get this. You're like, well, inflation's everywhere and everywhere. It's insanity, man. It has everything to do with the supply and the cheapness of oil. That's all there is to it. Now, look, I want to get more nuclear, 100%. I don't trust the Rockefeller clan as much as I could kick them. But the facts are, the price of oil runs our economy. I mean, how else could you judge that? Look at this. Here's the debt. It's growing more under Reagan than it did under Nixon and Carter. And we're going to talk about the debt in another video here in just a second. And then we're going to look at inflation. All right, so here we go. So you can see the regulation of the price. This is on a barrel right here. This is the price in that day's numbers. We're going to go back to 1956. We're going to CPI. You can see CPI negative 1, 8, 2, basically less than 1, negative 1.4, 3.32, 0, 1, 1. So CPI in the 50s was low. Price of oils was pretty low. I'm actually not sure if they regulated price of oil back then. I bet they probably did. I don't know. So I'd scratch that. I'd take that back. But what happens is you're going to see right here, 1973, the price of a barrel of oil was $3.87. It tripled in 1974. By the time 1981 came around, we had look at that. It went from 1972 to 1981. It went from $3.56 a barrel to that time to $36.67 in 1981. A 26.7%, 0.27% average increase every year from 1972 to 1981. It went 10 times the price of oil did. And then what happened to inflation? 3.2, 6.25, 11, 9, 5, 6, 7, 11, 13, 10. And then when Reagan got rid of and remember, this is when frickin' Nixon put the price controls on there. Again, I don't know what happened here, why the price was so stable. I just don't know. But then what happened when Reagan got rid of the price controls, it went from 36 down to 21 10 years later. It dropped by 4.75% a year since 1981. What happened to inflation? It started dropping like a freaking brick in water. It went from 13 to 10 to 6 to 3 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 4.5 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 3. And then you come here. What happened here? It went from 1998 to 2007. The price of oil went from $14.39 to right there, 15 to 72. So it averaged 15.43% a year. And that has actually started getting some inflation back then. 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 2.5, 3, 3, 3, 4. And then finally we had the negative right there. And remember, because my first house loan was right there in 1998. I had 7% auto loan, 7%. So the interest rate certainly didn't whip inflation now. And you could get high loans back then, by the way. And then you see, I think I got another thing here too. Yeah, right here. From 1909 to 2018, the price of oil went up by 1.73% a year. And you can see 4 negative, this is inflation. 1.6, 3, 2, 1.5, 1.6, basically 0, 1.2, 2.2, 2 again. So inflation follows that of oil, 100%. And then you can see right here, the last 3 years, it went from 2020 to 2022, the price of oil went up by 34% a year since 2020. And what happened to inflation? Right here, 2020. 1 1/4, 4.68, 8, and now we're going back down because the price is going back down. Yeah, dude, it's just that simple, man. You want to beat inflation, you get rid of the freaking holdups on oil. You freaking drill, baby, drill. You export it. You do everything you possibly can to get oil out of the ground. There's tons of oil, dude. The world reproduces as oil. That's all there is to it, man. It's not a fossil fuel, and what they say, a fixed rate. The world is producing is oil. The earth itself is keep producing. We're not running out. It's silly. But the geologist said this is only known reserves. Yeah, until they find more known reserves. Of course, I still want uranium. I want to drill for uranium. I want more nuclear, 100%. I want to get rid of the oil oligarchs, absolutely. But I certainly don't trust big wind. I mean, that's freaking evil. That stuff's evil. They're freaking, don't even get me started. All right, that's how you beat inflation. And I'm going to do another one where, here just a second, talk about the debt, how just it's so stupid that these guys, right-wingers, keep focusing on the debt as if the debt is what's going to destroy our economy. It's just, all right, love your thoughts. God bless.